Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be starting a new vlog where I tackle the next reading challenge for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And today I'm going to be starting the Challenge Yourself reading challenge. Basically, the idea of this one is to pick a reading challenge that you gave yourself for the year. A lot of people do like the 25 books in 2025, or these books will self-destruct in a certain amount of time, or what else do people usually do? A multitude of different things. But the one I set for myself every year is the Book of the Month has a reading challenge that they do as a part of their app and for their subscribers. And if you read, I think it's like 15 of the Book of the Year Book of the Month books from that year, then you get some sort of prize at the end of the year. So that's the challenge I'm going to do for myself and for her kid. I have a couple books that I've already read for the challenge that are logged onto the Book of the Month, but I'm just going to do another 15 just because I really need to catch up with all of my Book of the Month books. So I'll probably technically finish the challenge on the Book of the Month app before I'll finish it for her kid, but you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to read
Mickey.
Is it Mickey? Are you watching Mickey Mouse?
Yeah. With the moon.
He's got moons.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I'm going to be doing this challenge in episodes 3 or 4, depending on how much I read and when I would like to have the video up by. But I've got 4 books picked here, and the first one I've already started is Babylonia by Costanza Casati. And this one is kind of like a ancient Greek retelling of I don't even know if it's really ancient Greek. It's of the Assyrian Empire. It is following the Assyrian Empire's only female ruler, whose name is Semiramis, and her rise to power. So again, I don't know how much of this is going to be faithful or true to the mythology and history here, and what part of it is fiction, because I'm not super familiar with like ancient Assyrian myth and history. So I'll kind of maybe have to look it up as I go, or maybe when I'm done, because I don't want to spoil myself or anything. But basically, so far, I'm only, I don't know, not even 50 pages in. And we're following this young girl, Semiramis, who was orphaned as an infant and was taken in by a man who basically just picked her up because he thought like, oh, I can pretty much wed her off when she's old enough and get land in return or something. So basically was taken in not out of love, but out of financial gain. So I have a feeling that's going to be kind of a theme in this book, and that this woman is going to have hurdle after hurdle after hurdle just because of her gender and the time period it's taking place in. So far, I'm really enjoying it, and as the bloody dagger on the front would say, it has already been rather bloody. Who doesn't love a little bloody ancient history? So I'm enjoying this one so far. So this will be the first one I tackle. And then, as long as nothing else changes, the next 3 are, tentative plan to read in this video. But next I have The Names by Florence Knapp. And this one's interesting because it's, I don't know if I want to call it sci-fi or speculative fiction, or maybe a little bit of both. We get to see 3 alternative timelines of how this woman's life pans out. But the only difference that it starts with is that her name is different. How could something as small as your name change your fate or the outcome of what your life looks like? So again, kind of a mix between speculative fiction and sci-fi in the sense of multiple timelines kind of a thing. It sounded really interesting when I read it on Book of the Month, so I'm up for a little messy drama with a speculative sci-fi twist. Thirdly, I have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. A friend of mine and we do a little reading buddy thing where, we read nothing but thriller and some horror books. And I think this might be the next one to pick up. So, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone. I don't want to know anything about this going in. I just know I've read Lisa Jewell before and I've enjoyed her stuff. And she can tend to do more domestic thrillers from what I gather. But again, I don't. Oh, I think I picked this one up because I just read When a Famous Podcaster. Boom. Any thriller with a podcast element, done. Sold. So this one will definitely get read because I'm pretty sure my friend and I are reading it together. And lastly, I am picking up A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle Jensen. I want to do this one in this video, especially because I don't want to put any more time between when I read the first one and the sequel, because it is slowly fading and leaking out of my brain. So I need to do a quick summary of the first one just to get a little bit of a refresher before I jump into this. But this is a fantasy romance that takes place in kind of like a Norse mythology based world. And I did enjoy the first one. I didn't love it as much as I hoped based on some people's reviews, but for the most part, I did really enjoy it. This one makes me a tad bit nervous because I feel like the reviews haven't been as good as the first one, and it's shorter than the first one. And anytime the finale in a fantasy series is shorter than the rest of the books, it tends to make me nervous because I feel like they're never then as good as previous books in the series. Fingers crossed that this isn't the case for this one.
Mommy.
Yes, Luna. You are a temperature princess. Can't be too hot, can't be too cold. Unacceptable otherwise. But these are the 4 I'm hoping to get to for the first installment of this challenge, because it's probably going to take me 3, maybe 4 videos to complete this challenge. And I got to complete it before the end of the year in order to get whatever goodie book of the month is handing out for completing the challenge. So I have to get a move on. So again, I'm starting with Babylonia, and I will touch back in once I've read a little bit more in that, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling. But for now, I got to keep doing some work. Tons of fun, but you know, got to pay the bills somehow. Okay, so I'm here to do a reading update. Babylonia, I actually didn't get too much farther. I'm still not even 50 pages in, but still enjoying it. Just haven't had enough time to sit down and read physically because I don't have an audiobook or an ebook for that one. So I'm reading it physically, which means my reading time is a bit diminished. But I am about halfway through None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This I am listening on audio, hence why I'm already halfway through, but I'm enjoying this. This is a thriller with an obsession trope. So these 2 women meet in a pub briefly because they find out that they're birthday twins. They both were born same day, same year, same hospital even. And it seems one of them kind of latches onto this and is getting a little obsessed with the other. And things kind of start to spiral from there. And she has kind of a strange life that she's divulging to this other woman who has a podcast, and she's interviewing her. And things are slowly devolving and becoming a bit creepier and creepier and creepier. And you're kind of not sure if this woman is trustworthy or not, whether or not she is the victim she's claiming to be, or if she's a victim of her own doing, or if she's just a complete bullshitter and is making all of this up in order to have her somehow come out a certain way. So it leaves you guessing, and it makes me feel uncomfy because of some other things that are going on. And that's where I want to be in my thrillers. I want to be uncomfortable when I'm reading a thriller. If I'm not uncomfy, then what's the point? but I'm really liking it, and I feel like it could go so many different ways. There's so many threads that I feel like could twist and turn, and I don't know what to expect coming next. So I needed to do an update before I just binge the rest of this and finish it, because I have a feeling tonight I'm just gonna binge listen to this while I do some crochet projects, because I need to know how this happens, because I feel like there's going to be some gnarly twists coming up, and I want to know. So I will touch back in when that one's either done or I make a bigger dent in Babylonia. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I should have plenty of time to read this evening. Tomorrow, I've got kind of nothing going on. I might take the kids to the zoo. But then Sunday, I probably won't get much done. We have friends coming in from out of town for the day. So hopefully I'll get a book done by tomorrow evening and stay on track in order to have this up in the next couple weeks. But I will touch back in once I finish something. Reading update. So I did end up finishing today None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is everything I want from a thriller. It has one of my favorite tropes, which is an obsession trope. And I especially like an obsession when it's not a romantic obsession. It's like a friendship obsession. And it had that, and it had it in spades. So I really enjoyed that. I devoured it. I read it in only a couple days, and I was even trying to slow myself down in order to not get too ahead of a friend of mine I was reading it with. And that's what I want from my thrillers. It means I'm entertained, and that's what I read thrillers for, is to be shocked and entertained and uncomfy, and it did all of those things. The reason I didn't give it a full 5 stars is that the ending wasn't quite as explosive as I wanted it to be. I really love it when my thrillers go slightly off the rails in believability. And again, not so off the rails where you're just like, this in a million years would have never happened, because that's what I like in my horror books. But in my thriller, especially like crime thriller, I don't mind if it goes a little bit like unbelievable. And this one didn't quite get there. It was very believable in its ending. Like, I could have 100% believed that this was a true story, because it seemed very, very real. And again, totally fine. It just wasn't exactly what I would call like a 5-star thriller for me, but still super enjoyed it. Again, devoured it so fast. I was uncomfortable. I am still uncomfortable because as the title would suggest, I don't know what was true. I don't know who was telling the truth. I still don't know who was telling the truth, if anyone was. So I like that uncertainty, because that uncertainty is very true to life when it comes to crime, and true crime especially, because it's up to the jury to decide how much to believe. And I don't know what I believe. So I'm definitely going to be continuing to think about this thriller, because there were so many questions. Yes, I can hold it. That I have kind of answered, but whether or not I believe those answers is the question. I loved it. If you're someone that likes their thrillers to be like wrapped up at the very end, nice bow, all questions answered, this probably won't be for you. But if you're someone that likes that kind of realistic ending, in the sense of not everything is completely wrapped up, we may not ever know the full truth, then this one's definitely for you. I am definitely going to be picking up Lisa Jewell's newest one, which also has a podcast element, which was a huge factor of why I enjoyed this. The audiobook was really great because it did have that podcast element. It was produced well and had that extra production in order to really implement the podcast element and feel to it. So really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I finally picked this up, and that's the first book down for this challenge. So I've got 3 more to go. I'm still slowly knocking my way through Babylonia. I'm going to sit down here and read a little bit more of that if my son will lay down and take a nap, but we'll see if that happens, because as of right now, he's not. So hopefully I'll get a chance to read for a little bit. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up next, if I'm going to pick up The Names or Curse Carved in Bone. I think it depends on which one I get the audiobook for first through Libby. So I need to see where I sit in line for those. But otherwise, I will touch back in once I get a little farther into Babylonia or start one of the next 2 books. But I will talk to you soon. All right, so welcome to my dungeon. I did finish Babylonia last night, and it was fine. I haven't been doing a lot of updates. I've been back and forth from family down in Indiana. It's about a 2-hour drive, and I had a sick family member who was passing, so I was back and forth visiting with family, so I didn't get a lot of updates done, but I did get a lot of reading done because being in the car with an audiobook. It was fine. I'm not mad I read it. So I gave it like, I think I gave it like a 3.25 or 3.5, something along those lines. I'm glad I read it. It was enjoyable. It definitely scratched a history itch for me. It was very political, which, you know, not surprising. And I don't mind political books. I just need to really care about the characters or have a character that I'm really connected to in order to enjoy a political book, because then I feel the tension when things don't go their way, or I feel the joy when things do go their way. So that was my problem. Like I was interested in Semiramis and like rooting for her, but not to the point that made me like want to binge the book and like really get into it. But it was enjoyable. If you like ancient history, if you like court politics, then I definitely think it's something that you will enjoy. I will definitely read other books by Costanza Costi. I do have one other on my shelves by her, the Clytemnestra, I think it's called, and I definitely will read that. I did enjoy, because I did enjoy this one enough, but that's another one down at least. And I just picked up the audiobook for The Names, so I think that's going to be the one I pick up next. And then hopefully my hold for the audiobook for A Curse Carved in Bone will come in time for me to have this posted by Friday. If not, this might just be a 3-book vlog, but we'll play it by ear and we'll see. But yeah, so sorry if this is lacking in B-roll. I've just had a very hectic last week, and filming has not been my priority. I think I missed a post last week, so, but we're all doing okay, and it wasn't a surprise, so I think it's a bit easier to cope and deal with when it's something you've been expecting for a while. I will let you know once I start The Names and how I'm feeling about it once I'm a good chunk of the way through. But until then, hopefully I'll get some more B-roll of something. They're pecking my window. Little shits. My kids are both actually napping at the same time, and then I've got turkeys pecking my fucking windows. What are you gonna do about it? Fierce apex predator. Yes, move along, please. Stop pecking my windows. Go away, sir. So I finished The Names by Florence Knapp. I know I didn't do a single update throughout this entire read. My family came down with the flu, so it's been 2 weeks. I think I mentioned before we were sick with something, just a cold, I think, to start.
And then my grandma kind of declined quickly, so we were back and forth down to my family down in Indiana several times. And then when we came home, I don't know if we picked it up from visiting family or my husband had to take his mom to the hospital for a procedure. So if we picked it up there, I don't know. But we ended up with the flu. So between dealing with funeral stuff and sickness and sick kids and sick everyone, I was just listening to this on an audiobook to forget about everything that was going on in my life and apparently absorb myself into somebody else's tragedy because I did not realize that this was going to be as dark as it was. There are definitely huge trigger warnings for domestic violence in this. Basically, this book revolves around a family where a wife is going to the registrar to register her new infant son's name, and this is where the timeline splits into the three that we're following, where she either names the son after his father and his family name, which is Gordon, or there's a timeline where she ends up naming her son Julian, and there's another timeline where she ends up naming her son Bear. And then from that moment onwards, depending on what the name of this child ended up being, is the different timelines we end up following and how his life and the life of everyone around him is different because of that. The big factor that varies in what happens to this family is an incredibly abusive husband. And it was rough at times to read and very raw. But I ultimately enjoyed it. I will say, listening to it on audiobook, I did feel a little lost at times on what had happened in what timeline and whose timeline I was in. I don't know if I had read it physically, if it would have like placed me better into where I was, possibly, or it could just be the way it was written. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so I think I'm finally here to wrap up this vlog. Sorry my review of the names got a little cut off, but for the most part, I got to say what I wanted to say about it. But I'm just here to wrap up this vlog. I'm not going to be able to get around to a Chris Carved in Bone. This vlog is already late. There's no way I'm getting to it in time. Of course, it came up on my Libby for the audiobook, like, I don't know, yesterday. So I will listen to it, and I will probably get it into the second iteration of this vlog. 3 books. For the most part, they were either kind of middling or I enjoyed them. So, you know, I guess somewhat of a success. But sorry, this vlog was a bit of a mess. My life has been a bit of a mess in the past couple weeks, and I'm just hoping that something that looks like normal shows up soon. For now, bye. I'll see you in the next one. Happy reading.